I want you to picture something for me. Just picture yourself stepping outside on a really clear, really cold, moonless night.
Oh, yeah. The best kind of night.
Right. You know, the exact kind I'm talking about, where the air is so crisp, it almost like bites your lungs a little bit, and there is zero light pollution.
Just total darkness.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you walk away from the streetlights, you tilt your head back, and you just look up. What do you see? Or, well, maybe a better question is, what do you actually feel?
Usually it's just this intense feeling of being tiny.
Yeah, exactly. Because for most of us, I mean, ever since we were kids in grade school, the feeling is this overwhelming, almost crushing sense of scale. You're looking out into a vast, empty, freezing void.
Right. You feel like a speck.
Like this tiny, fragile speck of biology just clinging to a rock, staring out into an endless, dead, mechanical room. That's the story we've all been told, right?
Yeah.
That the universe is the ultimate outside.
The great beyond, yeah.
But what if that entire feeling, that entire story we tell ourselves, is fundamentally completely upside down? What if every single time you look up at the night sky, you aren't actually looking out into a vast empty void at all?
That's the big question.
Right. What if instead you are looking deep inward into the soul of life itself?
I mean, it is a total paradigm shift. You are taking the ultimate assumption of modern science, that the physical universe is this giant dead box that just happens to contain us, and completely dismantling it.
Tearing it down.
Exactly. You're
Right.
suggesting that the void isn't a container at all, but an expression of consciousness itself.
And that is exactly the mission of this deep dive today. We are going entirely, and I mean exclusively, into a profoundly original, philosophically daring model from an author who is radically rethinking our place in the cosmos.
And we really need to emphasize how radical it is.
We do. Now, to be clear to you listening, we are not going to get bogged down with standard, dry academic theories today.
No heavy jargon.
Right? No literature reviews of modern physics. We aren't importing a bunch of neurocognitive jargon. We're stripping all of that away to purely explore the poetry and the rigorous logic of this specific author's native metaphors. We're going to be exploring a framework that goes by some truly beautiful imagery, the cosmic fruit and the flat sun.
Which is incredibly refreshing, honestly, because so often we just get trapped in the scaffolding of academic language.
Oh, completely.
We get so obsessed with, the math of the box that we lose the actual essence of the idea.
Mhm.
What this author is doing is returning us to the raw structural logic of existence.
Yeah.
They're using metaphors that are so intuitive they almost feel like a memory you just forgot you had. But I will warn you, validating this perspective requires us to let go of our deepest comfort zone.
It really does. It's uncomfortable at first.
It is. We have to completely abandon the idea that we are just biological passengers who stumbled into a pre-existing indifferent universe.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this. Because if we are going to flip the standard cosmological model on its head, we have to start at the very foundation. We need to talk about the inverted container.
The foundational shift.
Right. Before we can even begin to understand our place in the universe, we have to completely, radically invert how we visualize the physical container of reality itself. Now, I'll be honest, when I was reading the sources, my brain was fighting this tooth and nail.
Oh, that resistance is entirely natural. To understand the inverted container, we first have to understand what it is we are actually inverting,
Like the baggage we bring to it.
Exactly. We have to look at the historical baggage we are carrying. For about 400 years, the dominant worldview has been what we call Cartesian dualism.
Right. Named after René Descartes.
Yes, the philosopher. Back in the 17th century, Descartes essentially split reality into two completely distinct categories. He called them res cogitans.
Which is the realm of the mind, right?
Right, the realm of mind, thought, and consciousness. And the other was res extensa, which is the physical realm of matter, extension, and space.
The classic mind-body split. I think, therefore I am, but my body is just like a machine.
Precisely. And while that split was incredibly useful for jump-starting the scientific revolution, it allowed physicists to study matter without having to worry about the soul or consciousness.
This was a big deal back then.
A huge deal. But it left us with a massive psychological hangover. It trained us to view reality as a set of Russian nesting dolls made exclusively of res extensa, just dead matter.
Right, like you were a mind trapped inside your skin.
Exactly. Your skin is trapped inside a room, the room is on a planet, the planet is in a solar system, and all of that is sitting inside this ultimate, gigantic, infinitely extending box called outer space.
The dead box.
The dead box. And in that Cartesian model, life is completely incidental. It is a lucky, random chemical spill that happened on one tiny grain of sand in the middle of a cosmic desert.
Wow, yeah, that sounds so bleak when you put it that way.
It is bleak. The desert doesn't care about the sand, and the sand doesn't care about the chemical spill. Life is completely secondary. It's an afterthought of the container. We are essentially strangers in our own universe.
But the author looks at this and says, no, the physical universe is not an outer room containing life. It is literally the boundless interior landscape of life itself.
Yes.
Outer space is the externalized architecture of life's own depth.
No, I have to stop right there. I have to push back on this because it sounds dangerously close to solipsism or just pure philosophical woo-woo.
I get that a lot when discussing this.
I mean, I'm sitting in a studio right now. I'm looking at a microphone. I'm looking at acoustic foam on the walls. Are you telling me this isn't outside of me?
Well,
Like, if space is just my internal depth, how do we explain objective physical reality? If a meteor hits my house, that's not my internal depth. That's a giant rock from space crushing my roof.
it's a crucial distinction, and the author is definitely not advocating for solipsism. They aren't saying the universe is just some hallucination generated by your personal individual brain. Okay, good.
What they're saying is that the structural geometry of the physical universe is the architecture of consciousness playing itself out on a cosmic scale.
Okay, so how does that work with the meteor?
Well, think about how our sensory apparatus works. Biologically, we are designed to project things outward. We have to perceive a strict boundary between me and not me just to survive.
Right, to find food, to avoid the meteor hitting the roof.
Exactly. But consider the concept of a boundary itself. If you draw a circle on a blank piece of paper, you create an inside and an outside simultaneously, right?
Yeah, the line defines both of them.
Exactly. What the author is suggesting is that the phenomenon of life, of conscious awareness, is the primary act of drawing that boundary. But the infinite space we see out there isn't the paper the circle was drawn on.
That's not the paper.
No. Outer space is the infinite depth of the circle's own interior, projected outward so that it can be navigated. It's a structural inversion. The universe is not a box you are put into. It is the spatial representation of the depth required to produce a conscious observer.
Oh, wow. Okay, this brings us to one of the most beautiful concepts in the author's work, which actually attempts to ground this physically. It's the idea of telescopes as nerves.
Yes, this is a brilliant metaphor.
Let me lay this out because this is where the physics of it really started to click for me. Usually we think of a telescope like the Hubble or, the new James Webb Space Telescope
Yeah.
as a tool for looking away from ourselves,
Right, peering out the window.
peering out the window of the dead box into the dark. But in this inverted model, these instruments aren't looking away from us at all. They are simply localized senses, growing longer nerves, allowing life to feel more of its own body.
And we can ground that directly in the hard physics of light and time. When we look through the James Webb Space Telescope, we are capturing photons, right?
Right.
And light has a speed limit. So when we look at a galaxy that is 13 billion light years away, we aren't just looking across a vast distance of empty space. We are looking 13 billion years into the past.
We are looking down what physicists call our past light cone.
Exactly. We are looking at our own history. In the Cartesian dead box model, distance is just a cold measurement of far-off real estate. It's just mileage.
Yeah, just empty space between point A and point B.
But if outer space is the externalized architecture of life's interior, then distance translates literally to depth of time and probability.
Oh, that's wild.
When a telescope captures the light from a dying star that exploded billions of years before Earth even formed, you aren't just measuring how far away that rock was. You are witnessing an expression of how deep the foundational structure of life reaches into its own past.
It's mapping the prerequisites.
Yes, you are mapping the precise thermodynamic and quantum events that were absolutely required for you to be sitting here today.
It's like we're reaching our fingers down into the deepest, darkest parts of our own DNA, but on a cosmic scale.
That's a great way to put it.
That light from billions of years ago, it isn't an alien signal from a foreign land. It is life's own structural shadow. It's kind of like assuming you are trapped in a massive pitch black cavern. You get this tiny little flashlight and you're terrified because the cavern is so big and echoing and cold and you feel entirely isolated.
Right, a classic horror scenario.
Exactly. You're shining the light on these distant, strange rock formations thinking, look at this terrifying alien world I'm trapped in. But then the light shifts and you realize the cavern walls aren't rock at all. You're looking at the inside of your own mind,
Wow.
The architecture of the cavern is you.
What's fascinating here is that this metaphor completely collapses the Cartesian divide, the divide that says there is a subject in here and an object out there. It just dissolves.
It completely vanishes.
If the cavern walls are your own structural prerequisites, then the act of shining the flashlight the entire enterprise of science changes fundamentally. Science, in this model, becomes an act of introspective archaeology.
Introspective archaeology. I love the weight of that phrase.
Yeah.
It's so poetic.
Because it redefines what we are actually doing. When astronomers map the cosmic microwave background radiation, or when physicists smash particles together at CERN, they are not discovering alien rules imposed upon us by an external, indifferent environment.
They aren't just learning the rules of the box.
No, they are mapping the internal logic of the process that generated us. They are discovering the mathematical grammar of our own existence.
It reminds me of the profound shift you feel when you finally figure out a deep psychological pattern in yourself. You have a moment of intense self-reflection and you realize, oh, I react this specific way to stress because of this foundational memory from when I was a kid.
Yes, that aha moment.
There is this immense sense of relief, but also awe at how rigorously structured your own mind is. In the author's model, discovering a new galaxy or a new law of physics is exactly that same process, just scaled up to the universal level.
It's the exact same process.
We're realizing, oh, the universe operates on quantum mechanics, not because it's a random external rule, but because that is the foundational logic required for my awareness to exist.
That is a perfect parallel. And this is exactly why it is so crucial that the author uses these specific metaphors rather than falling back on dry equations.
Right, because equations strip the meaning out of it.
When you say telescopes are nerves, you are making a massive ontological claim. You are saying the universe is fundamentally biological in its telos, its purpose. It is a living, perceiving system exploring itself.
And we are the focal points of that.
Yes. Every human being, every scientist looking at data, every person looking up at the night sky is the localized focal point of that cosmic exploration.
So when I look at the Andromeda Galaxy, I shouldn't feel this existential dread that I'm looking at an object that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I should feel like I'm feeling my own cosmic heartbeat.
You are feeling the pulse of the system that necessitated you. You are looking at the required scaffolding for your own consciousness.
Okay. But this naturally forces a massive question. I can accept the poetry of the inverted container. But if the universe is me, why is me filled with black holes trying to crush things?
Right, the hostility of space.
Yeah. If space is just our internal depth, why does it physically present itself as a boundless external landscape? Why does it look like a box if it isn't a box? This brings us to the author's second major breakthrough, which deals with geometry and scale. The author calls this metaphor the flat sun.
This is where the model moves from perception into actual systems theory because it has to solve a very real geometric problem.
Because it can't just be poetry.
Exactly. It is one thing to claim the universe is your interior, but you still have to explain the physical mechanics of why it feels so unfathomably huge and physically separate from us.
Right. So the author presents this brilliant thought experiment. Imagine a human being standing on the surface of our sun. Globally, from a distance, we all know the sun is a bounded finite sphere. It has a definitive edge, a specific curvature, a specific shape. But to the tiny human standing directly on its surface, that global reality is completely inaccessible.
Because they're just too small.
Exactly. Because of the sheer difference in scale between the tiny observer and the massive object, the curvature of the sun vanishes entirely. To that human observer, the sun is not a sphere at all. It becomes an effectively infinite flat plane extending endlessly in every possible direction.
It's the illusion of the sphere disappearing into a local experience of infinity.
Yeah.
The scale of the object relative to the observer is so extreme that the boundary cannot be perceived and the geometry flattens out.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The author isn't just giving us a fun optical illusion. They're using this geometric trick to explain the very function of the universe's unimaginable size.
Which is a huge question in cosmology.
Right. We always ask, why is the universe so big? Why are there hundreds of billions of galaxies? And usually, the cynical modern answer is to show you how meaningless and tonguey you are.
The cosmic demotion.
Yes. But the author completely flips that. They argue that the sheer, unimaginable size of the universe isn't a flex to make us feel small. It is the literal mathematical buffer space required for us to be creative.
And this is where we have to dive into the mechanics of what physicists call phase space.
Okay, break that down for me.
Phase space is essentially a theoretical landscape that maps every possible state a system can be in. Think about a game of tic-tac-toe.
All right, simple enough.
The phase space of tic-tac-toe is incredibly small. There are only so many moves you can make before the game ends in a draw or someone wins. Very quickly, you exhaust all the permutations.
Right, which is why it gets boring for adults.
Exactly. If you force a system to keep playing in a tiny phase space, every path rapidly loops back on itself. The system gets trapped in mechanical repetition.
It just plays out the same variations over and over.
Right. Now, think about biological evolution or human culture or even your own daily choices. If you put a biological system in a universe that is too small physically and thermodynamically, it will exhaust its potential states rapidly.
It would just run out of options?
It would reach thermodynamic equilibrium, which is a fancy way of saying it will run out of usable energy and just freeze up or loop infinitely.
Like a skipping record.
Like a skipping record. To prevent the skipping record, you have to blow up the scale of the system. Just like the sun flattening out to the human standing on it, the vast expanding scale of our universe flattens out the local geometry of reality. It creates what the author beautifully calls a local horizon of infinity.
A local horizon of infinity.
Yes. The physical expansion of space-time, all those billions of light years of depth, means that the universe is constantly increasing its maximum possible entropy.
It's making more room.
Exactly. By constantly expanding the room, the universe stays out of thermal equilibrium. It provides the energy gradients, the literal time and space needed for complex structures like biology to form without being forced to repeat past configurations.
It gives it breathing room.
That vastness gives finite systems the structural room to traverse unmapped trajectories.
I want to make sure I'm totally grasping this because this is profoundly empowering. We normally think of infinity as this crushing weight. We look at the Hubble Deep Field image, see 10,000 galaxies in a space the size of a pinhead, and we feel this cosmic vertigo, this absolute dread.
The dread is so common.
We think, the universe is infinite, therefore I am nothing. But the author is arguing that this local experience of infinity is actually absolute freedom. The universe has to be this huge so that you have the literal phase space to do something that has never been done before.
It is the unmapped probability space where genuine, absolute novelty can crystallize. Yeah, novelty. If the universe were small, let's say the entire universe was just our solar system encapsulated in a neat little bubble, the physical and thermodynamic permutations would be severely limited.
We'd hit a wall.
Life might spark, but it would quickly run out of adjacent possibilities. It would stagnate. The sheer scale of the observable universe acts as a massive, unbounded playground for the emergence of complexity.
It's like, if you want to paint the Mona Lisa, you don't use a Post-it note.
Right.
You need a massive canvas. And you don't look at the giant canvas and say, wow, this canvas is so big, my paint strokes are meaningless. No, the canvas gives the paint the room it needs to become something complex and beautiful.
That's a great analogy.
The massive scale of the canvas doesn't make the painting insignificant. It is the fundamental architectural requirement that enables the painting to be magnificent.
That is exactly how the author wants us to view the cosmos. The flat sun metaphor shows us that what we perceive as an endless, terrifying, dead void is actually just the flattening out of the canvas, ensuring that life never runs out of room to paint.
To keep going.
It is the architectural requirement for a system that wants to generate novelty rather than fall into closed, deterministic loops. The vastness isn't an insult to your significance. It is the prerequisite condition for your freedom.
Which means every time you feel that existential dread looking at the night sky, you're fundamentally misinterpreting the data.
Completely misinterpreting it.
You aren't looking at a void that wants to swallow you. You are looking at a picture of your own unwritten future. You are looking at the raw capacity for newness.
You are looking at the buffer space that guarantees your choices actually matter because they aren't just predestined loops in a tiny, cramped system.
Okay, this is really shifting how I feel about space, but I am still stuck on the violence of it all.
The violence.
Yeah, because even if we understand that the massive scale provides the room for novelty, we have to ask a brutal thermodynamic question. What is the purpose of all that churning, seemingly empty space?
I see where you're going.
If space is my internal depth, and its size gives me room to be free, why is it so incredibly violent? All those supernovas blowing up, all those black holes devouring whole solar systems, all that cosmic dust just grinding away in the freezing dark.
It's a lot of chaos.
It is. Which brings us to the author's third concept, a smoking something out of nothing.
This is where the model moves from geometry directly into energy, into the actual thermodynamics of existence. Because you're right, the universe isn't just big, it is a violently active place.
The author frames the infinite cosmos as this immense churning background engine, a cosmic furnace. It's doing all this heavy lifting in the dark. It takes the sheer, incomprehensible scale of an infinite universe burning through light years of silence and dark energy just to yield the delicate, highly structured friction of living awareness.
Like the universe is a prerequisite engine.
Exactly. The smoking something out of nothing metaphor highlights the incredible tension between the endless cold void and the hyper-concentrated spark of a living system.
We are so used to seeing them as opposites, or seeing life as an intruder in the void. We think, look at how fragile we are compared to a quasar.
Right.
But the author argues they are actually part of the exact same thermodynamic mechanism.
Break down the thermodynamics of that for me. Because if life is supposed to be the point, why does the universe seem so completely hostile to it? Most of the universe will kill you in a fraction of a second.
To understand this, we have to talk about entropy and the second law of thermodynamics.
Okay, brace yourself, everyone. Here comes the physics.
I'll keep it light. The second law essentially states that in any closed system, disorder or entropy always increases. Things naturally tend toward chaos, decay, and thermal equilibrium.
Things fall apart.
Exactly. Heat dissipates, stars burn out, structures crumble. Life, however, is a miracle of low entropy. A living cell, let alone a human brain, is an astoundingly ordered, highly structured, complex system.
Right. We are actively fighting chaos every second we are alive.
Exactly. But you can't cheat the second law. To maintain a tiny pocket of low entropy, to keep a biological organism alive and highly ordered, you have to pay a massive energy tax.
An energy tax.
Yes, you have to export chaos into the surrounding environment. Think about a refrigerator.
Okay.
It makes the inside cold and ordered, but to do that, it has to pump a massive amount of heat out into the back of your kitchen.
Okay. That makes sense.
The author is arguing that infinity isn't the content of life, it is the prerequisite state space. The infinite, violent, churning cosmos is acting as a massive background thermodynamic furnace. It is the kitchen absorbing the heat. Without that immense background nothingness, without the violent exhaust of stars and the deep freeze of the void, there is no gradient. There is no thermodynamic room for the something, which is the delicate order of life, to ignite and sustain itself.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the author provides another incredibly profound metaphor here. The lens and the diffuse light field.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. Walk us through how the author sets that up.
So the author says, imagine a vast, unpolarized field of light. It extends endlessly in every direction. It contains an immense amount of energy, a staggering amount of potential. But because it is completely diffuse and unfocused, it can't do anything.
It has no perspective.
Right. It has no point of concentration. It is just ambient background potential. The universe, in its raw physical state, like the dark energy, the gas clouds, the background radiation, is that diffuse light field.
And then life is the lens.
Yes, but here is the critical part.
Yeah.
Life is not a lens that was imported from somewhere else and dropped into the light.
It's not an alien artifact.
Exactly. Life is a hyperstructured lens carved from that exact same light. It emerges from the field, but its geometry is different. Its biological structure allows it to take that ambient, unfocused energy of the universe and bend it, concentrate it, and focus it into a crisp, intense, singular point of awareness.
It's focusing the nothing into a something. It is the mechanism through which the universe is finally able to experience its own light. The infinite field is the prerequisite. I mean, you obviously can't have a focal point without light to focus. The immense furnace of the cosmos is churning through raw probability and burning immense amounts of physical fuel simply to ignite and sustain that single concentrated spark of life.
And again, this completely cures that modern cosmic depression we talked about. Instead of life being an accidental grease spot on a random rock in a meaningless void, life is the very purpose of the furnace.
Yes.
Think about a massive industrial factory where the entire floor, all the deafening machines, the conveyor belts, the blast furnaces are running 247, consuming massive amounts of power, generating all this heat and noise just to produce a single perfect diamond.
Just one.
You wouldn't walk into that factory, look at the diamond and say, wow, what an insignificant little rock compared to all these huge machines. You would realize the machines are entirely subordinate to the creation of the diamond.
That is precisely the author's thermodynamic argument. The vastness of the universe, the violence of supernovas, the crushing gravity of black holes, all of that deafening hostile machinery is the heavy lifting required to generate the delicate low-entropy reality of a living cell.
It's required.
It is. The background machinery has to be that massive and that ancient to create a gradient steep enough for life to climb out of the chaos.
It takes 14 billion years of a cosmic furnace burning just to produce a mind capable of asking, why am I here?
And according to the author's model, the answer to why am I here is simply, because the furnace finally gathered enough heat to cast a lens. You are the universe's way of resolving its own diffuse probability into a crisp, actualized reality.
The tension between the infinite cold void and the warmth of a living being isn't a mistake. It is the defining feature of the design. You literally need the cold to define the warmth.
Yeah.
You need the massive silent background to give the tiny localized signal any meaning at all.
In thermodynamics, you can only extract work if you have a difference in temperature, a hot source and a cold sink. The infinite freezing void is the ultimate cold sink. It provides the necessary contrast for the highly concentrated heat and order of life to exist. The universe isn't hostile to life. Its apparent hostility is exactly what powers life's existence.
Okay, I am fully tracking with the furnace and the lens. But this leads us to the ultimate friction point.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Because if I accept that this massive factory is churning away to produce this spurk of life, I'm immediately going to look at the math and say, okay, but if it's an infinite factory, it must be producing diamonds on every single conveyor belt. This is where the author boldly, almost aggressively, challenges the ultimate assumption of modern cosmology and sci-fi.
We are talking about cosmic duplication, the alien question.
Yes, we're moving into the singular fruit. And I have to play devil's advocate here, because this is where the author's model clashes hardest with standard secular science.
It does rub a lot of people the wrong way.
Standard cosmology insists that because the universe is infinite, or at least unimaginably vast, there must be duplicate Earths. There must be alien civilizations everywhere. The sheer math of probability demands it.
It's what we've all been taught.
Let's look at the Drake equation, for example. You take the rate of star formation, the fraction of those stars with planets, the fraction of those planets that could support life, and even if those fractions are tiny, you multiply them by hundreds of billions of galaxies. You get a universe teeming with life.
Right.
And beyond that, if the universe is truly infinite, we have the infinite monkey theorem.
Right, the idea that if a monkey hits keys at random on a typewriter for an infinite amount of time, it will eventually type the complete works of William Shakespeare.
Exactly, and then it will type it again and again. So by that logic, if the universe is infinite, there must be another version of you and me having this exact conversation on a planet 10 billion light years away. To sit here and say we are alone feels like the ultimate pre-Copernican human arrogance.
It does feel that way, based on how we are taught to understand infinity. But the author radically rejects this, and they do so by deconstructing what an infinite state space actually implies.
How so?
The author argues that an infinite system does not mean a closed loop playing on repeat. It means the universe is a non-repeating state space.
But hold on, how can something be infinite but not repeat? If you have infinite chances, won't you eventually roll the exact same combination of dice?
Only if the number of sides on the dice is fixed. But what if the dice themselves are constantly growing new sides? Think about the sequence of numbers in pi. Pi is an infinite sequence of digits, 3.14159 and so on, stretching out literally forever. It is infinitely long, but it is a transcendental number, which means it never settles into a permanently repeating loop.
Wait. Let me challenge that pi analogy. Because yes, the total sequence of pi never repeats, but you will absolutely find the number 7 billions of times within pi. You'll even find the sequence 777 millions of times. So why couldn't an infinite non-repeating universe still spawn a million Earth-like planets just by sheer localized probability?
That is an excellent pushback. The difference lies in the complexity of the coordinate. Finding a 7 in pi is easy because it's a single digit, a low complexity state.
Right.
An Earth-like planet with a puddle of water might be the equivalent of finding a 7 in fun. But the actual emergence of self-reflective, highly ordered consciousness, the entire evolutionary history required to produce a human being, is not a 7.
It's way more complex.
It is the equivalent of trying to find a specific, completely unique string of 10 trillion digits within pi. And here is where the physics of the universe departs from a simple number line. The universe's phase space, the realm of all possible physical states, is expanding faster than the timeline of the universe itself.
Wait, expand on that. The phase space is expanding faster than time.
Yes. Because the universe is expanding, and because quantum mechanics allows for superposition and continuous branching of possibilities, the room for new physical configurations is growing exponentially faster than the universe can actually test them.
Oh, wow.
The universe isn't a fixed set of dice being rolled over and over. The universe is constantly generating entirely new physical states that have never existed before. It never runs out of room, so it never has to cycle back and perfectly recreate an old configuration to keep moving forward.
So because the universe is expanding its possibilities faster than it can experience them, it never occupies the exact same state twice.
Never.
The specific, delicate convergence of thermodynamic, biological, and historical factors that sparked life on Earth is a one-time coordinate in the history of existence.
Exactly. The universe is not an infinite field of identical weeds where if you walk far enough, you'll just see the same exact weed pop up over and over again. It is a non-repeating sequence. Therefore, the author argues, we should view the universe as a single, vast tree designed to produce one singular, irreplaceable, non-repeating fruit life right here on Earth.
A single vast tree designed to produce one singular, irreplaceable fruit. That is staggering. It goes against everything pop culture has taught us since the 1950s.
This raises an important question about our cosmic self-esteem. We have been conditioned to believe that the vastness of space is proof that life is cheap, common, or heavily duplicated.
Right. We're just one in a billion.
We look at the Hubble Deep Field and think, look at all those galaxies, we can't possibly be special. But the author argues the exact opposite. The unbounded expanse is not proof of duplication. It is simply the total volume of non-repeating state space required for a singular, unrepeatable event like life to ignite at all.
I see where the author is going, and it reminds me of a metaphor I thought of while reading this. It's not like the universe is a factory stamping out duplicate cars on an assembly line.
No, not at all.
It's more like a single, massive, cosmic 3D printer. And this printer takes 14 billion years to print one unique, impossibly complex architectural structure. And it has to use the heat and energy of the entire massive room just to finish this one singular print.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The universe isn't trying to cover the entire build plate in identical copies. That defeats the purpose of the non-repeating geometry.
Right.
The massive, empty volume of the printer is required to give the singular object its meaning, its thermodynamic fuel, and its location. Without the massive expanse, the singular fruit has no context, no grounding, and no room to exist. But without the fruit, the universe is just an undifferentiated expanse with no focus. They co-create each other.
It is a profound structural codependence. The universe provides the expansive, high-dimensional background, the infinite potential. Life provides the singular point of convergence, where that diffuse potential tightens into a crisp, highly organized center.
And it forces a radical choice in how you derive your own meaning. Are you only valuable if you are part of a crowded intergalactic neighborhood? Does your life only matter if there are a billion other civilizations out there doing the exact same thing?
A lot of people think that way.
Or is your value derived from the fact that an infinite cosmic furnace burned for billions of years, specifically to forge the exact coordinate where your consciousness could ignite?
So what does this all mean? It makes me think about how we naturally treat things that are rare versus things that are common. If life is everywhere, if the universe is just an infinite monkey typewriter pumping out duplicate Earths, then life is fundamentally cheap.
It's just a commodity.
It's mass-produced. It's replaceable. But if life is the singular fruit of a non-repeating infinite process, then every single human life, every single bird, every single blade of grass is infinitely precious. It represents a coordinate in reality that will never, ever happen again.
It demands a level of reverence for our existence that the dead box Cartesian model completely stripped away from us. In the Cartesian model, you are an accident in a cold room. In the author's model, you are the apex of the system's ability to know itself.
And tying it all back together, if the universe is this massive furnace churning away to produce this one spark, it permanently changes how I view the night sky. I'm not looking at a threatening, empty void. I'm looking at the fuel.
The raw material.
I'm looking at the exhausted probability that was necessary for me to breathe in and out right now.
You are looking at the raw material of your own existence, pre-digested by the cosmos. To carve out a tiny pocket of order, a planet with a biosphere, a human brain, You have to offset that order by creating a massive amount of disorder elsewhere.
Or the thermodynamic tax.
The churning, chaotic, violent furnace of the universe is the necessary thermodynamic exhaust that allows the delicate order of the cosmic fruit to exist and ripen.
The supernova's blowing up. The endless expansion of the void, that's the exhaust pipe of the engine keeping my heart beating.
In a very real thermodynamic sense, yes. It is the vast background processing required to maintain the localized signal of life. And because it is a non-repeating process, it is all driving toward this moment, the specific configuration of reality.
Let's take a breath and recap the sheer, rigorous poetry of the journey this author has taken us on today. We started by completely shattering the dead box of the Cartesian worldview.
We threw the box away.
We did. We learned to view the universe not as an external room we are trapped in, but as our own inverted internal depth. When we look through a telescope, we aren't looking away. We are growing longer nerves to feel the historical depths of our own cosmic body. Distance is depth.
And then we explored the geometry of scale with the flat sun metaphor. We saw how a bounded sphere becomes a flat, infinite plane when you are small enough. We grounded that in phase space, learning that the universe's unimaginably massive scale isn't designed to crush us into insignificance. It is the local horizon of infinity, the required buffer space that flattens out reality, so biology has the unmapped room to generate absolute novelty. The vastness is our thermodynamic freedom to not repeat ourselves.
From there, we looked at the cosmic furnace, the smoking something out of nothing. We reframed the cold, empty void not as a hostile wasteland, but as the infinite crucible, the prerequisite engine doing the heavy lifting in the dark to offset the entropy of our existence.
The universe is the vast, diffuse field of light, and life is the hyperstructured lens carved from that exact same light, focusing it into a crisp point of awareness.
And finally, we challenged the most persistent sci-fi trope of our era, the assumption of cosmic duplication. We explore the non-repeating cosmos, where infinite space does not mean a closed loop of endless repetition.
Expanding faster than time.
Because the phase space is expanding faster than the timeline, life is not a generic accident scattered randomly across the void. It is the singular, irreplaceable fruit of a vast cosmic tree.
It is a model that is so philosophically daring and so grounded in a strange, intuitive logic that it is hard to shake once you really visualize it.
It really is. I want to bring this directly back to you, the listener. The next time you step outside on a clear, cold night and you tilt your head back to look at the stars, I want you to remember this author's framework.
Remember that you aren't looking at a cold, dead box. You aren't a tiny, insignificant speck about to be swallowed by the void. You are the universe's own perceptual apparatus turned inward.
You're feeling your own walls.
You are feeling the walls of your own boundless interior. You are the singular focal point, the lens of an infinite process that has burned for 14 billion years, just to give you the room to be novel, to be new, to be aware.
You are the fruit of the tree. But, doing this deep dive, sitting with the logic of the cosmic fruit and the flat sun, it leaves me with one final provocative thought, something for you to chew on that builds on everything we've discussed today.
Oh.
If we are the singular fruit of this infinite cosmic tree, and our scientific instruments, our space telescopes, our colliders, are just life growing longer nerves to feel its own body, what happens when this cosmic fruit finally becomes fully self-aware of its own infinite interior? When the lens finally understands it is focusing the light of the entire field, does the tree just continue to grow, endlessly exploring its own depth? Or does it begin to plant seeds,